Hi guys, this is S. Robert Westman here with another story I've written here. It's called Elfsong, and I'm just gonna get right into it here. So prepared. It's a bit of a more of an emotional piece, I guess you could say. There on the cliff tops lay a small stone house. It wasn't any grand structure made by a king to boast to everyone about his wealth, nor was it some spiraling tower of some wizard to skulk and cower. No, this was a small house made with aching hands, dripping with sweat, and accidental drop of blood. It might have been a reclusive family, but they never shied away any strangers that stumbled at their doorstep. Though now the thought has crept in, blowing its bitter cold breast, that many adventurers and old merchants have tried to make the trek up towards the cliff top. People were preoccupied with the winter and trying not to get snatched by sneering jaws. The occupants of the house were not so tense about the oncoming season's change as they had erected some sort of spell around their properties. Even now, as the trees lay bare beyond their perimeter, flowers bloomed and spread along the pathway as if they were at the pinnacle of spring. A miracle of colours coursed through the lush grass right up to the doorstep. Vida rose from the bed. He was a simple elven man who made his career on teaching simple magics. He was far more talented than he was perceived, but he liked the position he was in, and the little tide of humans and elves was never ceased to amaze him. He was short for an elf, and fully around 5 foot 6 inches. His dark black mane dropped down from his scalp to his lower part of his shoulders, but he had refused to let any hair on his facial features grow. His nose twitched slightly at the smell of herbal tea and freshly baked bread, a smell he had welcomed. Many worrying friends had forewarned him about his lifestyle. He assured them that he was very capable of magically preserving food, and in truth, he was. His wife teased him at times, told him he could have been a prize baker and lived like a king. Yet wealth was never a concern for him, or a consideration he had never dwelled on. He entered the kitchen slowly, peeking in to see if he could surprise his wife, but she was nowhere to be seen at the moment. He glanced at the tea on the table with a painted pattern of a long-lived dragon on a polished brass handle made to look like its tail. It was ginger tea, his beloved wife's favorite. Another sip was all he had to take before he was interrupted by his beautiful wife pouncing on him. She laid her hands on his shoulders and made him jump like a cat. Scaredy cat, she chided before slipping away to bask in the sunlight. She had dotted little freckles on her face, paired with her fiery hair tied into a nice long ponytail. She was also magical in nature, knowing every spell about plants or wildlife imaginable. She also didn't need those abilities either. She was graceful with a trowel as she was with a wand. "You're up early," she teased, again with a bright glowing smile. Beatrice was her name, and she was wonderful. She was a human, but there was never a barrier for Vidar's love. She slowly waltzed in the kitchen as magic gently played from possessed as music, sorry, gently played from possessed instruments. Vidar learned to dance from her, and it took her far longer to teach him than to teach any of his students magic. Vidar joined eventually once he filled himself with enough courage to. Their waltz was slow, mystical, and "You've been practicing?" she asked with a slight raise in her brow and an utter gentleness in her voice. "A little," the elf replied, with a slight blush bubbling from his cheeks. The couple exchanged a glance with each other, nothing but utter adoration and admiration for each other. Inevitably, the music stopped, and the couple went to do their chores around the house. They clasped each other's hands as long as they could before each of their fingers slipped from each other's grasp. As Vidar left to go to his study, he heard a faint noise escape from the guest room. He peered through the faint crack of the door that was left open, and his eyes widened to what he spied. A small music box hummed as it came to life. It was an ornate wooden box made from an oak tree and painted a soft green. Two small elves twirled together in front of an unpolished mirror. This had been his daughter's before she left to do her own studies and ventures, and before then it belonged to his late mother. Memories flooded the center of his brain, some of them of his own childhood, where his mother tucked him gently into bed. A more prominent memory that emerged was when he gently pushed his daughter on a small swing he had made himself. The excitement and giddiness on his face stayed with him for most of his life. He missed his daughter so dearly. Beatrice enters shortly, as she was puzzled where her lover has been. She entered her old daughter's room and watched as Vidar was enraptured by the small music box. "I'm so proud of her," she whispered with a light smile. A small peck landed on her husband's face before she waltzed off to continue her work. Vidar shut the box slightly, fingers shook slightly as tears prickled from the edges of his eyes. "I wish she was still my little girl," he murmured to himself in a light confession of his soul. They had left the room in a cover of dust. They had no excuses to use this room, and it made the elf feel a pang of guilt bury itself into his heart. He cleared his throat, pulling his sleeves across his tear-soaked cheeks. It was therapeutic. Cleaning this room brought back even more memories and smiles. Peter was glad he had the strength to do it. As they progressed, as so did the tasks of the couple. Vidar had finished his leftover work and had been piling due to some level of procrastination. He carried himself outside where he found his dazzling wife. He watched the never-ending expression of joy on her face. It was infectious, and it made him smile every time he gazed upon her. He watched as Beatrice softly pruned a rosebush they had nestled against the entranceway of their home. The flower head she snipped off wilted and slowly died within her palm, since it was severed from whatever magic they had produced in their garden. A breath staggered from her lips as she was contemplating her next word. "Maybe we should discontinue the spell," she asked, not turning from the flowers in front of her. "Perhaps," Vida replied, with a quizzical look. "Those roses are your favorite," he argued, not raising his voice, but trying to make a valid point. "All good things have an end sometimes. It's not right to stop that end," Beatrice remarked, and the truth Vida knew she was writing it down. Silence fell, and the couple simply enjoying their light quiet. Vida stepped slowly towards the cliffside and pointed his gaze to the gentle sunset in the distance. Beatrice quickly followed and wrapped her arms around his as she lay her head upon his shoulder. They, they together watched the sun set and disappear underneath the horizon. Beatrice was the first to break the silence with a small proclamation. "I had always loved you." Her voice was soft and gentle, like a plush pillow being, but hidden in her words was a light sting of truth. "I know," Peter replied, his voice nearly failing. At the words, clutched to his throat, begging him not to accept what was about to happen. In a light flash, Beatrice disappeared. Her presence and weight lost. But was she even there? Vidar brought his eyes to the ground, catching the sight of two gravestones, one marked with the name of his wife, and the other was far harder for him to accept. The magic around his house faded as plants began to wilted and die. Vidar let go of all the illusion as he collapsed to his knees. Silent, inescapable sobs left his wounded heart as he came to accept that all good things must come to an end. Well, that's it. Yeah. So it's a piece more kind of like describing like not the dangers of immortality, but the price of like watching someone who can live for so long, watching everything around him kind of fade away, and having to accept that within himself. But that's it for today. I, I haven't done this in a while, so I might be a bit rusty. Yeah. I like to do this in one take, but like I did practice. Like usually I like practice, but I was like, yeah, I'll just do it one take. No need to practice. It'll be good. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.